All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back and welcome to our monthly Diabetes 101 for Caregivers Crash-Course. This is the project that Kim and myself decided to do in 2025 once a month. We are going live and talk about life with diabetes, but geared towards the caregivers. And the reason why we decided to do that, because both of us went through the um, experience in our lives when we were taking care for someone. In my case, it was my husband. For Kim, it was her father. And the situation in my experience was that my husband would go to the doctor. My husband would go to meet with the specialist, and when he will come back, and I obviously would ask how did it go, how was it, he would say, "Great, that's it." What did doctor say? Oh, they say that everything is good, blood work is good, I'm good, so everything. Did you ask doctor about this? No. Why? Well, why should I? It's not that important. Did you ask that? Did you ask the suggestion about this? No, I forgot. So I was staying at home with two children and didn't know how I can help my husband in a better way. And from what I see in our Facebook group, Diabetes 101 for Beginners, this situation, this many years later, didn't change for many. A lot of caregivers experiencing the same story when their loved one is meeting with a healthcare professional, gets some answers for their questions, but they either choose don't share the answer, or they forgot to ask the question, or they ask the question that they were curious about, but not what you personally need to know. So, uh, internet and Google are great, and you could really lose yourself searching for the answers. There are so many theories, there are so many suggestions, but the story goes when you live with this diagnosis, you have better understanding than someone who learns from you. And if you don't share it with that person, like really sharing, like 95%, this person cannot get into your skin and know what you are feeling and know what you are experiencing, and they have to guess. And this is what I am really passionate about. I would like caregivers to have as much information as it possible so their guesses will be educated guesses. And especially if they have an opportunity and chance and interest in opening this communication channel with their loved one, this may turn into the very successful team. And we know the examples of those teams. We know when the family really acts together and sharing with each other their discoveries, their knowledge, they work together. That is the best situation. And I would like everyone to be able to be a best teammate you can be. And this is what this series are about. We already had 11, no, 10. We had 10 sessions of it. And if you go to our YouTube channel, Smart Move 360, we have the whole playlist of these shows. And at the end, I will show you how this looks. And in the description for this video, I will put links to the YouTube playlist, and you could take a look and actually learn from those presentations. Kim is a gem. Kim is doing an amazing job putting together the information, the latest information that is available out there. She of course, knows the basics, but she also learning every day about new discoveries, new tools that are available out there for everyone, and puts it together in a nice package with the ribbon and a bow on top of it, so we could really just take it and don't worry that we missed something. So I'm so glad that she agreed to do it with me. I'm glad that she's enthusiastic about it. So Kim, please tell us a little bit about yourself and let's move on.
Thank you, Irina. This has been a great journey. And if you haven't already been to Diabetes 101 for beginners, start there. There's a lot of mixed information there, but there are some really great ideas from other peer-to-peer, how people can control their blood sugars and sharing different tools and tips on, eating and cooking. But this is a heart project because of the caregiving part. And most of the people I think on the Diabetes 101 for beginners are caregivers because I see that all the time. My husband or my spouse or my daughter or my son, or my uncle or my friend. If you're a caregiver, you have a heart that I just love because you want more for somebody and you're willing to sacrifice your time to get that. And yes, it was Irina's husband, it was my dad, and I would have gone over the moon for my dad, to do whatever. But it doesn't mean that they're going to always like what you're doing or like the advice or want the reduced carb meal. They're going to fight you against that. But as a caregiver, you just have to understand that your job is to be the example, to provide the foods that are healthy, but everybody has free will, and that's really, really tough. I remember reading something from a participant in the Diabetes 101 for beginners. Well, I just want my husband to do better. He's so sick, and I know that, he's not going to have a long life, if he doesn't start doing better. You can't force someone into compliance. But my biggest tips are for a caregiver, and this is really, really hard. You have to turn into the example. If you want your family member or friend to make changes, you have to make the change, be the change. And you should always catch the person that you're caregiving for doing something right. The littlest thing, like, wow, I saw that you took a 10-minute walk before, we had dinner today, or wow, I noticed that you portioned out, your snack today. That was really great. Oh, I noticed that you had more protein on your plate for dinner tonight. That's great because you're going to feel more full now and your blood sugars will be more stable. So there's a lot that you have to take under your wing as a caregiver, but it's worth it. Um, Irina's husband was, probably just like my dad, just really didn't want to share a lot about their diabetes. So you have to dig and you have to go to the appointments, like Irina said. You have to show up and be there. Again, it's a difficult place to be as a caregiver because you don't get a lot of thank yous. But my thank you was my dad surviving for 31 years after his five bypasses and his diabetes diagnosis. He was there for the weddings and for the grandchildren, being born. He was there for those family events. That's the payback.
Absolutely. Well, and today I know this is November. This is our month when we start the celebration season. And I know that this question pops up again and again. A lot of people, especially the newly diagnosed, they are terrified of holidays. People who are caregivers, they have no idea and they are terrified how they will host the parties, the family gatherings. So the information about what people can use as their holiday festivity meals, dishes, that discussion is really in order, and I'm so glad that you actually agreed and volunteered to put together this conversation, this talk, and let's dive in. I will.
The holidays, yes, the holidays are very tough. For dietitians, the holidays are tough because people are looking at our plate all the time and like, I'm having the pumpkin pie, don't you worry. And so are you, and so is your loved one. So let's get into that.
All right.
I'm going to share the screen in Arena. I just need you to be there and let me know how it looks. Nope, that was wrong. Let's try it again.
Let's try a different screen.
Okay, let's try this again. Let me bring it up first. Let me prepare it first. It worked just a second ago.
Yes, I did.
Hold on.
We're holding.
How about now?
Yes, we are there. It's the right presentation. Now you just need to click the, yes, you got it. You're a professional. You know what to do.
Holidays and diabetes. I mean, we could talk for hours and hours and hours about this. It's a tough time, and I'll get into what you need to look at, what you need to be aware of, and some strategies to still enjoy what you're eating, how to keep your blood sugars managed through the holidays. You know, it's not easy. It's not perfect. I have patients right now that are going to be reporting their blood sugars to me on Monday, and I'm sure they're going to have a lot of notes about their past Thanksgiving this week. That I decided it's like it's okay. It's a holiday meal. We all tend to have a higher blood sugar that day, high calories, high fat. There's a lot of things that we have over on that day, and that's all right. But when you have diabetes and you're taking medications, there are some precautions that you really do need to be aware of. And as a caregiver, you may not know this information that I'm going to share with you today. So thank you for being here. So thank you, Arena. This is a really great way for me to give back. I love taking care of people who have diabetes. And now I get to take care of people who are taking care of people who have diabetes. And that's just such a joy for me. It's our heart project. I think I can speak for Arena. It's definitely her heart project too. But I am a dietitian. I'm a certified diabetes care and education specialist. We used to just be diabetes educators. Now we're lots of different letters. I am licensed in the state of North Carolina, and I have been at the same diabetes practice for 20 years this February. But I have been a dietitian for more time than that. But it's been a great journey, and it's happened so quickly. But I think that I could consider myself an expert in helping not only caregivers but people with diabetes. This is what I surround my time with 24/7. So let's get into it. But first, let's talk about what is diabetes. I always tend to just get right into the conversation, but Arena slows me down. It's like, okay, wait a second. Let's go over what is diabetes. And I appreciate her telling me to always include this slide because it really is important that you may not know the different types of diabetes as a caregiver. So let's talk about that. So diabetes happens anytime the blood sugars are higher longer. Your body makes a hormone called insulin. And this is not forever. We store our insulin in our pancreas. This is where it is born. Really, we are born with all of our insulin cells. The job of insulin is to quickly go into the blood when the blood sugar rises, open up a bunch of doors so that sugar can escape. The sugar is not supposed to be in the blood very long at all. Sugar is meant to fuel our cells. We have millions of cells in our body, muscles, hair, heart, skin, you name it, from head to toe. Our body runs on blood sugar. So insulin's job is to quickly move that sugar from the blood into the cells to lower the blood sugar in the blood, because a high blood sugar in the blood for very long can definitely cause damage over a long-term situation. If the blood sugars are really high for many, many years, 2 to 5 years, you could start to see damage that soon. But it could happen instantly. So insulin is make or break. This is what we really want to focus on being kind to. Our insulin cells will not last forever. And so the more that they're used and the more that they're stressed, the shorter lifespan they have. Type 1 diabetes is a very difficult condition because we don't know why this happens, but type 1 diabetes, our body attacks our insulin cells. And since our insulin cells, we can't make new ones, what we have at birth, that's what we have for the rest of our life. And in some cases, even as early as, 6 months old or even sooner, or sometimes it happens late, could be in your 50s or 60s, this could happen. But our body will attack our insulin cells in our pancreas. They think that it's an invader and our body attacks them. We don't know why they get that message, but when the insulin cells are attacked and they're destroyed, they're no longer working. You can't survive without insulin. We have to get that energy from your blood to the cells or you slowly starve to death. So somebody who has type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition. It is for life. Aside from a pancreas transplant, that could happen in some cases. But in this case, if your body is not making insulin, if you don't have insulin from the inside, you have to take insulin for the remainder of your life, every day, every time you eat. But technology is great. We have lots of things to make that go a little bit smoother, like insulin pumps and different devices that can help us to manage that, and continuous glucose sensors, that was our last conversation that we did. So type 2 diabetes, it used to be called adult onset diabetes, and that is no longer true. We have lots of kids, even as young as 9 years old, being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So what's happening in somebody with type 2 diabetes is you have insulin. The insulin is plentiful in your pancreas. It's just not working. What happened? Why did it kind of, decide to just take an early retirement? What happened here? Well, when your body, when the cells are just packed full of other ingredients, like could be dietary fat and in the form of fatty acids, the sugar has nowhere to really be absorbed. So your insulin is just working really, really, really hard to get the sugar out of the blood vessel. And they're trying to get it into the cell, but the cells are like, hey, I'm full, you have to go find somewhere else. And that means that the insulin is not able to really push that door open for the sugar to go in the cell. So the body calls for more insulin and more insulin and more insulin. You have a high level of insulin, but it's still a high blood sugar. So there is just a signal, something's wrong with the signal. The insulin cannot get the sugar into the cell. And therefore you just have a backup high blood sugar for a really long time. So we have to find the solution for the insulin resistance. And that's what's happening there. Certainly the things I'm going to talk to you about today will be very helpful. But the number one thing is reducing the amount of foods that raise blood sugars in the first place, not eliminating them. I'm not a dietitian that's going to ever tell you that. So if that's what you want to hear, just carnivore diet, this is not the conversation for you. Yes, we do need to allow carbohydrates. I'm a big fan of carbohydrates. If I'm not going to give them up, I don't expect anybody else to give them up. But we have to learn to live with that. There's a strategy with eating with diabetes so the blood sugars don't rise too quickly in the first place. And there's things that we can do. We can be active. That lowers blood sugars very quickly. If we have weight to lose, we can lose weight. But some people with type 2 diabetes are normal weight. So it's not always a weight issue. And that can be very confusing. So type 2 diabetes is really where I love to work, in that community, because there are so many possibilities of control. And then prediabetes is the precursor. If I'm a dietitian for 20 years, I'm telling you, if I had a nickel every time somebody told me this statement, I'd be a very wealthy lady. This is what I hear in my office. Well, yeah, I've had prediabetes for a while. The doctor said it wasn't really a big deal. So, I never did anything about it. That is what I'm talking about. Prediabetes is a big deal. It is a medical condition that can be reversed, but you have to know what to do. You have to do something about it. Anybody who has an A1C that is creeping towards 5.7, that is a wake-up call to start making changes immediately. If you can reverse prediabetes, you can avoid type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes leads to type 2 diabetes. So that is an emergency, in my view, to take care of that. So you never, ever have to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And that is, again, getting on the bandwagon, not bringing in too many foods that raise blood sugar. Let's get active. Let's find other places for that sugar to go, which is our muscles. Our muscles love your sugar, But if you're sitting on the couch, the muscles aren't going to absorb it. You have to be active. So it really is, I really think that this is life-saving, knowing that you can avoid type 2 diabetes if you just took care of it when you were diagnosed with pre-diabetes. The doctors need to be more forceful with this. As you can tell with my energy, it just picks up when I talk about pre-diabetes. I'm telling you, it can happen. Now, there are some signs and symptoms of pre-diabetes, and some people with darker skin, you may notice you have a darker ring around your neck. That is a sign of insulin resistance. You could also see it under your arms, in the thick of behind your knees, or the crease, any creases in your body. If you see a darker skin or more of a velvety kind of weird texture with your skin, that's a sign of insulin resistance. You may not even need a blood test, but a blood test can certainly confirm that. And then skin tags. Skin tags. This started happening to me in the beginning of menopause, and I didn't remember that skin tags were a sign of insulin resistance. But there I was, diagnosed with prediabetes in the early part of my menopause journey. Reversed it, absolutely. I took care of that, and you didn't even have to tell me twice. I absolutely took care of it. So I'm never going to be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. But somebody who didn't get that message might let that go on for years. And suddenly they go into the doctor's office. Oh, you finally have type 2 diabetes. Welcome to the group. It could have been avoided. Whew, okay, so let's move on. We're here to talk about the holidays and how can you have the pumpkin pie and still have good blood sugars. We're going to get into that now. But first, let's talk about A1C goals. I work for this endocrinology group for 20 years, and I ask them all the time, and we've been to meetings together, what is the safest A1C? It's not 4%, it's not 5%, it's not 6%. If you can achieve that, congratulations, you are amazing. You're almost a rarity in my world. This is very hard to achieve. An A1C under 7%, you can avoid complications. This is where my dad was for a very, very long time, to avoid complications so he could be there for the family events and all of those things. An A1C, if you can achieve it to under a 5 or under a 6, then that is great. But it doesn't have to be that way. It's hard to do that. You have to work very hard, and I congratulate you if you are so dedicated that you are able to do that. But for the rest of us, if you can just get your A1C under 7, you can avoid 95% of complications from diabetes. And it's a little easier to control your blood sugars under a 7 instead of striving for that under 5 or under 4. There was a study early, it's been years, maybe a couple decades since the study came out, but when I was a dietitian going through school, there was a study that showed what was the lowest blood sugar that was great for our senior population. And so they controlled this one group very, very, very tightly. They were striving for getting their A1C under 6. And then the other group, they were just striving for an A1C under 7. There was more people in that senior population that were striving for a blood sugar under 6 that had early death. They had a higher mortality risk. Because when you're in an elderly or senior population and you have a real low blood sugar, they often got dizzy and fell down, and they ended up in the hospital having hip replacement surgery, and then they're exposed to staph infections, and that increased their mortality risk. So for our senior population, which I think a lot of our participants are, it's not always better. It's not always better. So relaxing a little bit, but getting that A1C under 7. And for some of you who are A1C of 15, A1C of 12, A1C of 10, this seems like really, really far away. It may take you a year, but consistency and dedication and coming to the group for help and assistance can really get you there quicker. An A1C over 8, that is very dangerous. We definitely want to get you under the 8 and then under the 7. So you might have to go from an A1C of a 14 down to a 12, down to a 10, down to an 8. Absolutely, you are improving your lifespan every time you reduce your A1C. And then working with the dietitian, you might need to ask your doctor for a referral to one of me in your area that can work with you one-on-one, or you can just reach out to me. I'm available through the group, through Facebook. Right now, Facebook is not working for me, but through Messenger, or, there's lots of ways to get in touch with me. At the end, I'll show you that. So my
Just
dad,
to stick 5 cents from my side. If you're trying to reach out to Kim and have no idea something doesn't work, reach out to me. I am also all over the place, and we could connect. And we are working on putting Kim out broader and more available to more people.
thank you for that. So my dad is the one who had diabetes, and we almost lost him when he was right 50-ish years old. He had 500% blocked arteries, and he almost died overseas on a hiking trip through the mountains of Austria. And I don't know what he was doing, but he said he was afraid for his life because he couldn't breathe. And even walking into the airport to get back home, he had to stop many times because he just couldn't breathe. So the next day he was at the hospital. And the next day after that, he was having a 5-way bypass surgery, a quintuple open heart surgery. So that was the turning point. So in his 50s, he was definitely gung-ho. He almost died, so he was definitely, okay, I will do anything that you say so I can survive. He just had his first grandson, born when he was in his 50s, and he loved, everything was about family. He loved family. So he was very, very motivated. But 20 years in the decade of the 70s, and he was a really bad patient. He was a terrible diabetic patient, but begrudgingly he did what he had to do. But we knew that he wasn't happy about it. And then I don't know, remember how old he was. And it's like, I'm just tired of watching everything I eat. I just want to sit down and eat a bag of chips. I just want to go to Bojangles and have my biscuits and gravy every day. He just loved that food. He loved fast food. And going to McDonald's, and these are things that we told him, don't do that. It's not going to be good for your heart. You had 5 bypasses. So it really endeared me to be imperfectly controlled. It helped our relationship better, that I'm not going to be upset with him if he decides to go get the biscuits and gravy, or he sits down with a bag of chips. There's a lot of things that I learned through that conversation with my dad, that he was just tired. He just didn't want to do it anymore. So we talked about ways that he can eat those things and still have a better blood sugar control. He had dogs he had to walk. So that was the one thing he did 4 times a day. He took walks with the dogs. And that really, really helped him to be able to have those extra chips at night when he's watching the TV or the movie or the news. So that's what I want to talk to you about. How can you control your blood sugars during this high calorie, high carb time, where a lot of this food is really ingrained in traditions, and these are things that we really don't want to give up. But before you indulge, if you're one of those who has an A1C of 14 and A1C of 12, this is danger zone for you. And I would definitely tell you, I would absolutely control your blood sugars the best way you can. And sometimes giving up a dessert, giving up the sweet drinks is very important for you, because someone with an A1C of 12 or 14, you can very quickly go into the 500 blood sugars and end up in the hospital, very, very sick and near death. So if you are that high and you have medicine and maybe you haven't taken it for a while, now's the time to start. So get your A1C straight before you indulge. I mean, it's very dangerous for you to indulge right now. What you want to think about is not starving yourself before the holiday meal or the Christmas party that you're going to. You really do need to eat for the entire day, and you have to take the medications. If you're like, well, I'm going to skip breakfast and lunch, I'm not going to take my insulin this morning. Don't do that. Take your insulin, eat your breakfast, eat your lunch. We don't want you starving and without the medication that can help lower your blood sugars. How about, can I move after? Well, it's getting very dark very early right now this time of year. So are you going to be able to go out for a walk at 7 or 8 o'clock at night? If not, maybe there's something that you could do inside, or maybe you can get home from the Christmas party and do something then. Maybe you can exercise before you even go to the party. I mean, when you exercise, it can really benefit you for 3 to 5 hours after that exercise. So maybe, okay, it's daylight, it's 2 o'clock, I'm going out at 5, so let's do some exercise now. Just try to find a time to be active on the day of that big meal event or that party. And then this is something that I can relate to, that I want you to relate to as well. You know how it feels to have a high blood sugar. It doesn't feel good. Do you want to really go through that? Do you want to feel so tired and have that headache and be so thirsty and be up all night because you're drinking so much water and you're up all night going to the bath? Do you really want to feel that way? So maybe you can make some decisions beforehand to keep your blood sugars in control. It's the roller coaster. This happens all the time where your blood sugar is low. So what do you do when you feel low? Well, you eat a lot of food or you drink something sweet and then it goes up and you feel great and then it crashes again. Being on this constant roller coaster is not healthy for you. It hurts your mental health because a low blood sugar and then a high blood sugar can really make you feel very anxious, very upset, very short-tempered. You know, the roller coaster here that doesn't really have any highs or lows isn't all that fun, but it certainly feels so much better to have your blood sugars controlled and not have them all over the place. So some of you might want to consider asking your doctor about a continuous glucose monitor. It's not perfect, but it will certainly alert you if you're going high or dropping low, so you can avoid it and not have to do that treatment in the first place. So before you go to the holiday meal, you got to check your blood sugars. You got to know where you are. I mean, if you're in the 300s and you're going to your holiday meal thinking, you know, it's all the stuff, that could be very dangerous for you. And that could lead to a hospital visit or an ER visit in the middle of the night. So you have to be very aware that high blood sugars already, you might need to take a break this holiday season and just work on getting your blood sugars down to prepare you for the next event or holiday meal that's coming up. I know that I want everybody to enjoy their holidays, but it can be very dangerous for you. So if you're having, you know, an A1C over 10 and you're having very high 300, 400 blood sugars, this is the time for you to really stop and get your blood sugar under control first. Yeah.
I just wanted to add here, I didn't think about it, but think about this like you are having a flu. And when you have a flu, you are avoiding these big gatherings because you don't feel well and you don't want to pass it to others. Imagine that this is like a flu with the no danger to pass it to others, but you yourself will just bring not very good results to yourself by attending those meal oriented gatherings. So if you have a hard, strong willpower and you could stay away from the table and just walk around with the glass of water, that may be one of the solutions. But if you're not sure about it, maybe this would be a good idea to find a very meaningful excuse why you skip that gathering this year. My 5 cents, I'm sorry.
That's very, very helpful. I completely agree with that. You have to think of it that way. Now, as a dietitian, I've read a lot of doctor's notes. I've looked at medications that you might have been put on with the 400 blood sugar, and I'm telling you, it's not enough. Somebody will be on 500 milligrams of metformin or an A1C of 12. That's not going to help you. So digging a little bit and maybe getting the referral to the endocrinologist. This is what they do all day, every day. This is their specialty. Your primary care is amazing, but may not be the greatest diabetes doctor that you need. So get to the professional, get to the dietitian. I send doctor notes all the time. Hey, doc, this guy's blood sugar's been really high for the last couple months. Can we consider changing the medication? So I try to make it as nice as I can, but you may need more meds. And I know you don't want to be on meds. I know that for sure. You don't want to add a medication, but let's get your blood sugar down first. And then let's get you off the medication. Let's get you out of danger first. And then we can, work on all the things that you have to do to get off. I understand. Blurry vision, feeling very tired right after eating. If you feel like you want to go to sleep, your blood sugar is probably high. increased thirst, blurry vision is the number one thing that you might really feel or see instantly when your blood sugars are high. So all of these are, ideas that maybe you might have some high blood sugars. And if you haven't checked it or haven't gone to the doctors recently, you got to go. You got to go and do that. That was one thing my dad was really great at. He went to every doctor appointment. He was, he was retired. He liked to get out. He liked to drive his car. But I would surprise him because the endocrinology office was just 2 floors away from my diabetes center. And I knew when his appointment was, and I would just meet them in the office. Hey, Dad, I'm here with, and I would just, it was very eye-opening. Even with my dad, I learned a lot in those visits.
And as a caregiver, be prepared to have a resistance, to hear a lot of complaints and arguments about the fact that this is the gathering that I was looking forward to the whole year. So it will be challenging for both of you. And I think if you can volunteer participation, say, I will talk to the hostess, and saying, we are playing this water fast, and we are right now not doing eating, we just drinking water. Or maybe you offer the walk before and after. So be more active, not just observe, because I do remember how difficult it was for me to watch my husband making all those excuses and doing everything that he's not supposed to be doing and not being able to anyhow change it. So instead of trying to change them, as Kim said in the very beginning, probably will not be a bad idea to say, hey, I feel so heavy after this meal, let's go for a walk, and invite them for a walk. Or if you're afraid that your partner is not maybe having hard time seeing, especially at night, volunteer the driving so everybody will stay safer. So just be more proactive, and this way they may actually open up for you next time more freely.
Yeah, being aware. Yeah, it's, you know, asking them, let me see your meter, let's check your blood sugar, that's really tough because they're embarrassed. They don't want you to know how bad it is. They want you to just forget about it. But we care. We love our family and our friends, and we want them to have a full life. As long as they want to, to live, we want them to live a good life. When I talk to patients or my clients about the holidays, it's like, it's all the desserts that I have to give up. That's not really true always. They call it a cheat day. I don't refer to it as that. I refer to it as just a higher carb day. You're choosing to have a higher carb day, and it's cheating is such a negative connotation. We don't want to absorb that in our brain. You're not cheating. Strategically, we can figure this out. So it's tradition, comfort, and family. And, the story of, oh, everybody else gets to eat dessert but me, you can still have dessert. And I'm going to show you. Now, I love this website because as a dietitian, it's a very easy read. It's easy to help people get to very quickly. They have wonderful recipes. This diabetesfoodhub.org recipe website is amazing. I would encourage everybody to go there. And I'm not sure I can get there from here. Oh, did that work, Arena? You can see the website. Oh, yay. I was hoping that worked. I don't know how to get back, but right now we're okay. So one thing I just wanted to show you is that they do have the holiday meals. Let's see. My meals, my recipes. Okay, they have cooking classes, but Arena's a cooker too. Did you guys know that? She's a chef. So we'll ask her to do a cooking class one of these days. But let's just look. I think we can go in here to dinner, and there could be somehow we could search for holiday dinners. I don't think I'm going to take a lot of time to do this, but look at that beautiful plate. Look at that plate of a chicken cutlet. We have a strawberry little salad going on, and the carb is the pasta. So this is called the plate method. The plate method doesn't have to be perfect, but it's a great visual way to control your blood sugars. But you're not going to be starving because the plate method is full of foods that really, really make you full. We have lots of recipes here. They're going to give you nutrition facts. I was hoping that I could just get right to the holiday eating. I think if I search it, just holiday, it'll get me there. 6 tips for a healthy holiday with diabetes. 7 holiday cooking tips for people with diabetes. This would be a great quick read, very easy. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. Now, I would make the menu for our holiday meals because of my dad. And when you walked into the house, you didn't have chips and stuff like that for appetizers. We had veggies, we had protein, we had meat trays, we had cheese trays. Because when you eat things like that, yeah, they're higher calorie, but they're not going to raise your blood sugar. They're going to make you full. They're going to help slow down all the digestion of the fun foods that you're going to have during your holiday meal. Yeah, let's pack everybody up with veggies and meat and fiber before the holiday meal. That's a great idea. You can do that stuff. We had stuffed mushrooms for the appetizer for this past Thanksgiving. Great. There's really no carbs in that at all. It was delicious.
Just stay away from dinner rolls. That's the key.
Yeah,
Because I do know that so often during the appetizer period, right? We can actually have so much already consumed that when it comes to the main dish, I see a lot of people saying instead of there's a pasta or some mashed potatoes or something, they say, oh no, just put for me a little piece of fish or just cut a little bit of beef for me, and they don't do anything else because they already had plenty, and this helps. This helps.
absolutely. It really, really does. So knowing some strategies that you might not have diabetes, but go ahead and let's prepare some appetizers that are diabetes friendly, that can really help everybody, no matter. They might have high cholesterol. They might want to, lose a little bit of weight. They might have high blood pressure. And so the opportunity to provide diabetes friendly appetizers and meals is great for everybody. Everybody can benefit from that. Am I back on the presentation arena? Okay. So the plate method, I use this every single day in my personal life. I use it every single day in my job. This is what you need to know. This is the building blocks. This is what you need first. So if you're a caregiver, you've never thought about creating meals that are blood sugar friendly, this is for you. Now, we're going to build on this and we're going to do carb counting on top of this, but this is the first step. The plate method, if you know how this works, it can help you in every meal, every situation, every snack. Okay. So building your plate that's diabetes friendly is having a lot of food on your plate, just not a lot of carbs. The carbs are great and we're going to have them. And we're probably going to spend those carbs on a dessert for a holiday meal. But this is how you do it. You pack your plate full of protein and veggies, which are foods that naturally don't really raise the blood sugar. And then you pick your favorite carb. You don't have to deprive yourself if you do it in this way. And eating, the order to eating is something that I know Rena talks a lot about, is eating more of the protein and veggie first, just like the appetizers that you're going to provide, the meat tray, the veggie tray, eating that protein and veggie first automatically is going to slow down the digestion of any carb that you eat in that meal. That helps to control the blood sugar. It's a beautiful process and it works every single time. So you want the dessert. Fine, we're going to have the dessert, but maybe we can give up the stuffing. I mean, I'd rather have a pumpkin pie because it's tradition versus the stuffing. So that's what you might have to consider instead of having just a plate of pie. First, bring in those veggies. We have a pot roast here, it looks like, some roasted veggies, probably carrots and some other non-starchy veggies. And then you're still going to have the pie, but it becomes part of the plate method. It becomes the carb for the meal. And you're going to be full because you're going to be eating lots more meats and veggies. And this is the plate method. This is how it works. It's not what you eat. It's how you eat it. So you no more guilt. The building blocks for blood sugar friendly and filling meals always starts with protein. Vegetarian protein, animal protein, plant protein, proteins work. The more you can get in, the better. We're talking meat, seafood, eggs, cheese, nuts, and seeds, edamame, vegetarian products with soy. Edamame is soy nuts, by the way, green soybeans. This is the cornerstone of blood sugar control is protein. So always plate that first. And then fiber, hey, if it looks like it does in nature on your plate, that's going to be a high fiber food, whether it's a fruit or a vegetable. If it's the potato from the ground, ended up looks just like a potato on your plate, that's the right food. The powdery mashed potatoes is not the same. It has to come from that natural source. So the more natural foods that you can pile your plate with, the salads, the Brussels sprouts, the broccoli, the cauliflower, the tomatoes and cucumbers. There's a whole list on that website, diabetes.org. You can go find out what is a non-starchy vegetable. You want to pile your plate with that too. And then you're going to save a little space on that plate for your favorite carbohydrate. Go ahead and have the dessert. Have the pumpkin pie, have the cookies, the pecan pie, have the apple pie. What else we have? Sometimes we have a tiramisu. Maybe we have a custard or a cheesecake. That is now the carb for your plate. And then we're going to plan some walks because this is medicine. When you move, your blood sugars become lower quickly. Your muscles want your sugar, but you have to activate them. And somebody who has diabetes and their blood sugar is starting to go up, they feel very tired. You got to say, we're going on a walk. This is what we're doing. Here's your coat. Here's your hat. Here's your gloves. Because this is my number one complaint I hear. Oh, it's too cold. Oh, it's rainy. I don't want to go. Go. That's what we have hat and gloves for and jackets. You have to go. It's lovely to go walking in the cold. You know why? Because your body's metabolism is going to ramp up to warm up your body and you burn more calories that way. It's very effective. Why do you think everybody's doing these cold plunges? Go out in the cold, get your hat and gloves, you'll be fine. Bring your umbrella if it's right. Just don't sit after eating. Don't sit. Here's another lovely plate. This could be anybody's holiday plate. We have protein. The more the merrier. I probably would add more than 4 ounces. I love how I feel so full when you have a lot of protein that you've eaten. Maybe you're eating protein for the appetizer and you don't need so much for your plate. That's fine. Now, the non-starchy vegetables on this plate are the Brussels sprouts and the green beans. You can have 10 times that if you want. I don't care. Fill your plate with those veggies. The carbohydrates on this plate is the cranberry sauce, the bread, and the potatoes. That is a perfect plate right there. That's about 45 grams of carbs, which is pretty great for blood sugar control. But if you want to take out the potato and the bread and put a dessert in there, you are welcome to do that. Like if you have a whole pie and you divide it into 9 slices or 8 slices, one of those slices is 60 to 70 grams of carb. That's a lot of carb. But if that's what you want, that's what you're going to have. But you've got to go take a walk after because that blood sugar is going to rise pretty fast. But exercising, getting the sugar into your muscles and not sitting there in your blood is a great strategy. And you know what exercise does? It makes your insulin work faster. So it's exercise. We should all be doing that. And it doesn't have to be going to the gym. You can have bare feet in your jammies at home and exercise. The lowest carb dessert is 2 holiday cookies. I'd probably want 4. That'll bring it up to about 40 carbs. And that would be okay too. A cup of ice cream or a half a cup of ice cream and 2 holiday cookies. Now you're talking. So you can mix and match, but we're trying to stay under 60 carbs at the holiday meal. But you can still eat very, very well on 60 grams of carbs. For my practice, if I were to do food diaries on my new patients, it's hundreds of carbs in your meal. You're eating hundreds of carbs. So getting down to 60 is thoughtful because you're going to look at your plate and visually inspect it. Is the whole plate full of pasta, noodles, or rice, or bread? Changing things is hard, but it's worth it because you're going to feel so much better on this plate compared to a 150-gram carb plate.
And take a smaller plate. When
Yeah,
you go to the buffet table, take a smaller plate.
that's
This way, you have a little bit of everything. You'll have a smaller portions of everything, and you feel
excellent.
less stuffed, and you still will have a taste of everything.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great point because you're visual, right? Your eyes really take in that, wow, that's a lot of food. So if you take that 9-inch dinner plate down to a 6-inch dinner plate, everything looks much, much more abundant. Might never matter. It's a great strategy. What does 20 minutes of exercise do to your blood sugars? It's a beautiful thing. 15 minutes, even just 15 minutes of exercise will lower your post-meal blood sugar by 30 to 50 points. You can go from a 200 to a 150 just by exercising, just by moving your arms up and down, walking around the house chores, dance party, playing with the grandkids, get up off the couch and move around. Do some cleaning, help the host, clean up the kitchen. Walking around, just even simply in the house can lower the blood sugars. Your insulin is sometimes not very sensitive and it can't get the message to the cells that it wants to put the sugar there, but this is going to wake up your insulin so lovely where your cells want to open the door for that insulin for that sugar to come in. It improves your mood. You feel better. You're a happier person. Endorphins, that's a real thing. And it does help to speed up the digestion if you're constipated. I mean, the exercise is going to help you go. You're going to feel a lot better with that. Nobody wants constipation, makes you feel horrible. So walk, if you're in a hotel, go up and down the hall. Who cares? Nobody's going to notice. Have a dance party. That's something that some cultures do, and I think that's lovely. My culture doesn't. I think it would be something fun to do. We could start learning some different dances. I don't know. Go to YouTube and just find a video, something 10 minutes that you could do. Stretch up, tidy up the kitchen. Laundry. I mean, that's a Olympic sport to me is laundry. I mean, that's tiring. So definitely do something that uses your arm muscles. And then tell everybody, listen, we're going for a walk. This is our new tradition. After every holiday meal, everybody goes for a 20-minute walk and everybody goes with you. And it's a lovely time to talk and gather. And you feel very connected when you're doing physical activity together. It's like a pack walk. Like I have 5 dogs. So pack walks, they love just that, closeness together. And I think that, family is a pack. We should feel the same. So this is not going to be you after the next holiday meal. You're going to get up off that couch. Now, Santa, yeah, he has been working all night. So maybe he gets a little bit of a break. But you see here, he's also had some wine. We're going to talk about alcohol in just a second. Get up off the couch. It's hard, but you can do hard things. Hard things lead to better things in the future. Get up off the couch. This life is not supposed to be perfect, happy, everything goes your way every single day. This life is supposed to be hard, to put you through challenges, to show who you are as a person. You can overcome hard things. We don't challenge ourselves enough. We want to be comfortable and happy and warm and not cold. Get out of your comfort zone. It will make all the difference in your attitude, in your future. Could probably get a new promotion, a higher paying job. There's a lot more things that you can get by being a little uncomfortable during your day. So there we go. We're going to have a dance party in the house with the family. That's fun. Especially if you have kids, this would be a great tradition to start. If it's cold outside, we're just going to bundle up, but we're still going to go out. And, if you don't want to go out, it's rainy. I get it. Find something to do on YouTube. We all have laptops. We all have phones. We can prop them up on the counter. We can do something for 10 minutes. 15 minutes is easy. That's easy. He's got a big smile on his face. He's really enjoying himself. So if you haven't already figured out, exercise is a great way to lower your blood sugars. That you have control over that. It's hard and it's sometimes breathing heavy doesn't feel good and muscle aches the next day, can be annoying. But that's what we have Tylenol for, and that's what we have Bengay for, and that's what we have those muscle massagers for, or a family member or a spouse. It's worth it. It's worth it in the end. Be uncomfortable, do something outside of the box.
And as a caregiver, be a initiator of those activities, because people who have diabetes and they're already feeling not good, they will not volunteer that. They will look for the place to hide.
Yeah.
So initiate it and organize some activity that everybody is involved. Everybody has to stand up. And if they cannot stand up because of some conditions, they may at least sit straight in their chair and move their arms, maybe throw the ball, maybe do something that will help everyone to start this movement. So, uh, caregivers is not the nurse. They are active participant, and ideas could be different, and there's abundance of the different activities that we could do. I just need to be a little bit more creative, a little bit more active, proactive, and prepared to take charge.
Yeah, I think that's a great strategy. The caregiver has to, get everybody involved and they have to be the initiator. You're right, because somebody with diabetes who's suffering from high blood sugars is really tired. They are tired. They're up all night going to the bathroom. Their blood sugars are high. They feel tired. They're going to feel so much better if you say it's not an option. We're going. This is what's going to happen. And but be nice. Here's what you may not know about medications and diabetes. You have a liver, medications, diabetes, and alcohol. Alcohol is something that we all run into during the holidays. New Year's, we want a glass of champagne. Dinner, we want to have a red wine or a white wine, maybe a beer. Alcohol and diabetes is not always a great combo. If you can manage it, less than 2 drinks a day, according to the American Heart Association, if you're a guy, you can safely have up to 2 drinks a day, but more than that, you're really putting a lot of stress on your liver. And for women, it will be 1 drink a day. I stopped drinking because it just started making me feel really bad. But I did have some wine over Thanksgiving, and I didn't like the way it made me feel. So I'm just gonna stop then. I can stop drinking. It's not something that I need. But I know some people just really, really enjoy it. But here's what you need to know. Your liver processes alcohol. It can do nothing else when alcohol is in your system. So my diabetes patients who need insulin or some type of a blood sugar medication that does cause low blood sugars, like a glyburide or glipizide, or insulin, long-acting, short-acting insulin. If you are balancing on a teeter-totter of really having a low blood sugar, you might think, well, how can I get a low blood sugar if I'm eating all those? That's because the liver not only processes alcohol, but if your blood sugar is dropping, it also makes blood sugar for you. Did you know that your liver makes blood sugar? So if your blood sugar is dropping, your liver can rescue you and raise the blood sugar so you don't pass out. You don't fall out with a low blood sugar, but not when there's alcohol present. This happens all the time. I bet you the ER was full of people who had low blood sugars and fell down and hit their head. So if you've taken insulin and you've had alcohol and you've not eaten enough carbohydrates, you can have a low blood sugar that can't be recovered. So it's very, very dangerous. So that's why the CGMs are important. If you are taking insulin or you're taking a diabetes lowering, a blood sugar lowering medication, you really need that safety panel to alert you like, hey, your blood sugar's dropping. Let's do something about it. Metformin is a medication that kind of makes a lot of people's stomach upset, but mixed with alcohol, it can really have severe bloating, diarrhea. I mean, who wants that at a holiday party? So consider maybe not having more than 1 drink at a holiday gathering. And, at my house, we made available non-alcoholic beer, non-alcoholic wine. That was okay. We enjoyed that too. A mocktail instead of an actual cocktail. We did all of that. And it was lovely to still walk around with a drink, but there's no alcohol, so there was no harm. Glyburide, insulin, again, these are low blood sugar risks. If you skip a meal, if you take the same insulin but skip a meal and just drink alcohol and don't eat, I mean, this could be very, very, very dangerous. So don't skip meals. Don't skip meals. Don't save your calories for the holiday dinner. You're going to be over calories anyway. Eat your breakfast, eat your lunch, have your snack, enjoy your holiday meal. Do you have any experiences with that, Arena?
I Fortunately, I didn't. We didn't have this problem. But I also wanted to remind caregivers that very often what happens, people don't want, especially on insulin, they don't want to take a shot in front of big crowd. They may get a insulin shot in a car before they enter the party.
Yeah,
And then at the front door, the host is greeting you, and then you see someone else who didn't meet with you for, or you didn't meet them for a while. And you continue these conversations, and you need to have some meal, some food in your stomach because you just got a shot of insulin. So this
yeah,
is where the caregivers can be of help. It's not like go and eat. Just go scout the table, find something that is good for the to begin the party, something protein, maybe some slow carbs, and bring it to your loved one who just had a shot of insulin, so they could actually start doing some compensation for this insulin shot while they're still talking with their friends. So to
that
be mindful, very important.
very, very good point. Oh, Arena, this happens so much. It happened to my uncle when he came for, an event a couple years ago. He took his insulin before he even left home. It was a 20-minute drive. And then our dinner was delayed. We didn't eat for 30 more minutes. It was an hour, and he had a low blood sugar in my house. And thank goodness, we knew what to do to take care of him. But that is exactly a great point that, right, you don't want to take the insulin in front of everybody. But once you get in there in 15, 20 minutes, you have to eat. That's what the insulin's for, is for the carbs that you're about ready to eat. So you can enjoy the meal and not have a high blood sugar. But very, very good point. So the caregiver goes in, knows their job is to gather that little plate of food while the person is talking and hand it to them, and even spoon feed it to them, like, oh, here, try this. How about this? Just to make sure they're going to stay safe and their blood sugar is not going to drop too quickly. It's a fine line. Insulin is great, but if you don't know how to use it, it can be very detrimental to your health. Diabetes is visible. People know you have diabetes. You got that sensor on your arm. You got your blood sugar meter out. You got things going on. You got the medications. But everybody's looking, watching something. There's a lot of people at the table that you may not know have a really high blood pressure and they have to watch their sodium, or they have had heart disease and they have to watch their sodium. And there are some things that they can't eat either. So everybody has a challenge to go in and try to design the meal so it's not going to impair their health long term. And usually a holiday meal is just one and done. So it's the days leading up and the days after that meal that you have to get refocused on what your health goals are. Somebody with celiac disease has to avoid all gluten. That is just dangerous when they go to somebody's home for a meal. I mean, you don't know what's in the actual ingredients. That can make them very sick, land them in the hospital. It's a terrible, terrible condition where you basically just have to bring your own food in this case. People with high cholesterol, of course, we have higher calorie, high fat foods around holidays. And, they're probably watching their saturated fat too. And they're, they want to have the ham, they want to have all the stuff, but maybe they're going to settle on the turkey because it's less fat. The food allergies, I mean, that can be really tough. So other people, you're not the only one at the table, the person with diabetes at the table that's watching some. So just know that you're still in good company. And think about, I hear this on the platform all the time, Arena, and Diabetes 101 for beginners. They'll say, oh, I miss the cereal, I miss the juice, I miss the soda, I miss the sweet tea, I miss the chips, but can you go beyond that and go, what are you gaining? What are you gaining? You're gaining years to your life. You're gaining saving your insulin cells for later in your life. You're gaining not damaging your eyes and there's so much you're gaining. Can we flip the script and focus on, I'm making these really hard choices because I want to see my kids, grandchildren in 10 years? My grandchildren in 10 years, my daughter's 22. I'm hoping by 30 she has some grandkids. I want to stay healthy so I can be there for that situation. I want to see a lot of things happen in my life. I have such a long life to live. I don't want it to be stopped because I'm so focused on the chips that I had to give up or the sweet tea that I had to give up. That's not the focus. The focus is what are you gaining because of your changes and your choices. How about better sleep? That's the one complaint. I'm up all night, I'm peeing all night, I got high blood sugars, I don't sleep, I'm grumpy. You get better sleep. I mean, all of these things are better, but saving your organs, your eyes, your kidneys, your heart, you really can't live without these things. And so you damage them because you wanted to go backwards in time and just eat all the things, the Pop Tarts and things that you can't have anymore. And that's what you're going to focus on. That is the wrong strategy. Please get into focusing on the positive and what you're going to gain from all of it. And this is an actual picture of my dad with that smirk on his face because he's not adhering to the guidelines. I was probably saying something to him like, Dad, why did you go back for seconds of the sweet potato, whatever? And he's looking at me like, I'm just going to be grumpy and I'm going to do the best I can. But he was not he was not perfect. And look at my mom looking at him. This is exactly their relationship. My dad was a stinker. I loved it though. He was a grumpy old man and he just wanted to do it his way. But 80% of the time, he did fantastic caring for himself and his diabetes and taking the walks. He had 20% of the time where he was a little stinker and he went out and got the biscuits and gravy and he had too much food at Thanksgiving. But that's okay. He was imperfectly controlled. And he survived 31 years. He got to see a lot in his life before he died at 81 years old one day before he was 82.
And not only he enjoyed that, but you had a chance to experience life with him. And look at your mom. She is looking, she is smiling, but she looks happy. And so this is the important part, that yes, it's about the person who has this diagnosis, but it's also about everybody who is surrounding them. And I
Yeah.
am really sad, and I know that my children are sad that their father didn't see them graduating the school, the
Yeah.
high school.
Yep. Yep.
And this is something that can be avoided if people are mindful. And I know that I could do better if I knew better. So let's
That's
get
right.
better educated, gather every piece of information we
Yep.
can, see how we can use it in
Yep.
our lives, in our family settings, because every family is different, and relationships and communications is different. But let's be better prepared for whatever life will throw at us.
That's exactly what it's about. It's about the relationships. The food is certainly fun, but it's about this experience. I have this picture forever. I laugh at it every time I see it because I know what he was doing something naughty. But what he did after this meal, he took the dogs for two different walks. What he did after this meal is he drank nothing but his delicious green tea, sugar-free, and water. And this is what I know. He checked his blood sugar. He took his medications. He did everything he was supposed to do. He had fun, and then he redeemed himself and he was able to not go to the hospital that night because he was able to control things.
And look at your mom's plate. There is some meat, whatever it is. There are
Yeah,
green beans.
always
She
ham.
is doing this plate method. She is a caregiver and she is
Yeah.
participating in it fully.
And she did a great job. I wish I took pictures of the place that she made for my dad. That was her number one job, and she did it. She didn't love doing it every time, like she wanted the Pop Tarts and the chips too, but she did it for him, and we thank him for that for all
And
these years.
and when you are taking care of someone, you are taking care of yourself as well.
Yeah.
And if this is good for them, it got to be good for you as well. So uh, yes, I need to think about what this person will like, what will not hurt that person. Let's make it the same way that you will enjoy it too. And you just cook one meal, and enjoy it together instead of like this is your stuff and this is my stuff. This is too much, too much. Let's make it
Everybody,
enjoyable for everyone. Spices are our spices are great helpers there, so we could use
yeah.
a lot of spices to everybody's liking.
So I hope somebody can pull a couple different things from the conversation that, yes, there are things that you can do. And sometimes, but when the blood sugars are very high, there probably should be a pause, wait until those blood sugars come down before participating, just for safety and for, not ending up in the ER. Because that happens a lot.
Definitely, definitely. And thank you for bringing up the this point about this unexpected, because a lot of times people, especially newly diagnosed, they don't know how their body will respond to the alcohol. And when this drop of their blood sugar happens, they don't know, they're already unconscious. But people who are caregivers, people who are surrounding them, that didn't happen to them either before. So they don't know what to do. And they don't know, is it the heart attack, or especially if it's the first time, they have no idea that that could happen with the blood sugar drop.
This is a good point because I forgot to mention this. I was going to make a slide and I completely forgot. What does it look like to have a low blood sugar versus what does it look like to be a little tipsy or a little drunk? The same. So you might be drinking wine, it's holiday dinner, but you took the insulin. You could be showing signs that you're not steady on your feet, that you're slurring your words, and somebody might think, oh, they just had too much to drink. No, they are in trouble. They are in trouble because their brain has now stopped working. When your blood sugar is lower, it leaves the brain first so we can keep the heart going. And so you can't make decisions. You can't get to what you need to get to, which is a treatment or ask for help. You can't even mouth the words because your brain is no longer working. So that is a very good point, Arena. This is very dangerous. Know the signs of a low blood sugar, know the signs of what it is to be tipsy. But when in doubt, where's your meter? We got to check your blood sugar. Where's your phone? Let me see what you have to, the caregiver has to know how to use that stuff and maybe have a backup meter in your purse just in case the sensor's not working. Something. These are the responsibilities of the caregiver that are really, really important. So I thank you for bringing up that point because that is definitely something that the caregivers have to learn right away. How do you test your blood sugar? For the first time in my office, I'll ask the husband, does your wife know how to check your blood sugar? No. I'm like, well, you're going to learn it today. Wife, come over here. We're checking his blood sugar right now. You do it right then and there. They don't know, but they don't ask. So you just have to have a lot of courage and know that your loved one will thank you later. They don't thank you right away, but they will thank you later. So hang in there with your temper. But all of these tools are very good for that specific situation Arena was talking about. That's exactly right.
And this is another brings up another point that I try to really emphasize as often as I can, that you've heard it multiple times. Diabetes is a team sport.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, once you cross that borderline and you got diagnosed with diabetes, this is something that you have to be always aware of. You cannot hide it from your family for the rest of your life unless you have not very good relationships in the family. So if you have a family, if you have a life partner who maybe you just roommates, but this is somebody who you feel you responsible for, it is very important to know the information and to be prepared. We've heard those stories about children saving lives of their grandparents or parents. We've heard those stories about strangers finding someone who doesn't smell like they had the alcohol but act like they had an alcohol, and they would call 911 because they knew of someone having those low episodes And this is what is very important for us caregivers to know the signs, to be ready to react.
Yeah.
And yes, and what Kim said, know how to check the blood sugar or how to use the app if there is CGM available, how to use the app and how to see the the readings, what to do with that. And
And even just on the CGM, a lot of times you could also download the app and be able to see their blood sugars on your phone too,
yes,
like his phone or her, however you want to do it. Or a child has diabetes, both of the parents have the blood sugar on their phone every single second. So there is a way that you can sync that into many,
I
many
forgot
different.
about this part. Yes, absolutely. So team sport, relationships, communication is important, and for especially for the holidays, you cannot be next to the especially grown up next to them all the time. They got to be uh, educated and aware, but you need to have this knowledge as well because at work, somewhere in the store, they are responsible for themselves.
Yeah.
But if you are at the party, take this load a little bit off their mind and make it a little bit easier. Of course, I would not recommend to take a fork away from the person who is aiming for the third piece of pumpkin pie. Just make sure that you give them beforehand enough of the green beans and and big piece of turkey so that third piece of pumpkin pie will have no place to land, and they will not do that simply because of this.
That's right. Yeah, and this is just great tips for everyday life. This is every single day, not just holiday meals, but knowing the signs and symptoms. That's probably a presentation we should do.
Well, we have a lot of work to do, Kim. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this every month. Just wanted to emphasize it one more time. I organize the activity. I organize this get together, recording, publishing. But Kim is doing a really heavy load, heavy lifting because a lot of information to be looked at, selected, put together the slide presentation. And she is saying she is just showing up. This is not just showing up. This is showing up prepared and ready to answer the questions because uh, we have on those um, crash course presentations people who are watching it. Sometimes they are watching live, and this is important to be ready to answer those questions. By the way, Kim also shows up for our support group meetings where people who are participants in those meetings, they are bombarding her with all sorts of questions, and she
I'm
is
doing it every other Wednesday.
yes, and they are Kim is showing up every time when she can because she is full-time employed, so don't want to say that she is the stranger who is doing it out of the hobby. This is her great heart that she instead of going ahead and play with her doggies or go with her mom for shopping, she is going to our Facebook group and helping people to learn more and get better control over their diagnosis.
Try to make it. I work late on Wednesdays, which is a little bit of a crossover. Sometimes I'm still working on the support.
Yes,
But Arena, I want to remind you, please show everybody how they can log into YouTube to get to Smart Moves 360 so they can see these videos.
ready. I was ready. This was my next step. So here is the YouTube channel that we have. It's YouTube channel is Smart Move 360, and we have there are several playlists. And this is our podcast, Diabetically Speaking with Smart Move 360. And we also have there the playlist that called Diabetes 101 for Caregivers Crash-Course. This is the place where our these videos are residing and where you could go ahead and take a look at what previous presentations we had. So that's something that I wanted to share, and that's what.
And to subscribe so you can get alerts when Arena posts a new video.
Thank you, Kim, about that. Yes, and share with others because sometimes you may hear something there because so much information, and I would love more people to be able to see and learn from that. Our Facebook group is huge and active, over 360,000 members in the group, and it's growing every week. Yes, but the YouTube channel, unfortunately, is not growing as fast, and I would like it to have similar, if not better, success. So help us out there and share with others. Smart Move 360 is everywhere. You could see it on our, tags here, and you could find it on YouTube as well. So
Thanks again, Arena. I think this was fun, and I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. And coming up, we have the next holiday would be, over Christmas or Passover, or whatever you're celebrating.
yes, around the new year, we have a lot of different holidays that people in different cultures celebrate, plus New Year itself, late night, you know,
I
the
never make it.
fireworks and everything that people do gather together. There's some time off at work. People go for vacations, and different cultures celebrate it in the different ways. So, all this, you don't have to miss it. You just need to be prepared.
Great. Well,
So,
happy holidays and Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and everything else
Happy
combined.
Kwanzaa, whatever other celebration is going on, we are happy to help you to strive during those holiday seasons. And we'll see you next month. All right. Thank you.